Game 2 of the NBA Finals. Do the Celtics do anything differently? What do the Mavs do to get Luka some passing chances? And how do they stop Boston? Still the persistent question. Let's talk about it right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Thanks to Blockbuster brand, it's holiday season. Drop Drew in the mix, and 3 from KP. No, we not on the Knicks. Flushing competition like Al on Giannis. Juice and Big Zeus, still Beantown's finest. Banner 18 going up in the rafters. Watch the C's game in Locked On after. Karalis on the breakdown, clutch like a tip from D. White on the breakdown. John on the mic, documenting domination. Matter pen a back bay, it's all C's nation. Rain and J's, how we started, raising banners, how we finish. Locked On Celtics pod, home of the winners. Peace.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I got you covered every day, every single day, not just Monday through Friday. It's the NBA Finals, just every day. I got a podcast for you, so make sure you're subscribed. The podcasts are always free, they're always fresh, and they're right there for you when you subscribe. They just drop right to your device. Ring the bell on YouTube. Get into that comment section on YouTube. It's basically Celtics fans versus Maverick fans in the comment section. Let's go. We're ready for a fight here or on the Locked On Mavericks YouTube page. So go there. Spam them. Return the favor. If you're new to the show, if you're a Mavericks fan, probably don't care about me much, but I am John Karalis. I used to play. Now I'm covering the Celtics as a beat writer for Boston Sports Journal. There, I'm at the NBA Finals. I'm at the practices. I'm in the media availabilities. You might hear my voice on NBA TV, so welcome aboard. Let's preview Game 2 of these NBA Finals. Let's take a look at, first of all, from a Boston perspective. What do they do differently? Do they have to do anything differently? At this point, I'm saying, you know what? It worked so well in Game 1. I think, and this is not an element that anybody really talks about here, but the Celtics have a head coach on their staff for another team. They have Charles Lee, who he's coaching his final few games as an assistant for the Boston Celtics. Now, I don't know if they're doing this, and they would never tell me if they were, but what great practice for Charles Lee for Joe Mazzulla to go to him and be like, hey, you're coaching another team. You're coaching against us next year. What's your scouting report, huh? What are you going to do? Give us a little taste of your scouting report. How would you game plan against us? And take some of what he says and just be ready for it. Take something, ask Sam Cassell, ask Tony Dobbins, ask all those guys. Say, what would you do if you're trying to game plan against us? Pretend you've got the Mavs. What's your plan? And see what they say. And tuck it away. Put it on a little sheet. Put it in your back pocket and say, all right, let's see if we need any of this. Because I think Boston's game plan is completely able to be replicated. Because what was the game plan? You play Luka Doncic straight up. You try to confuse Derek Lively, which I know one of these days I'm going to say Blake Lively, but it's Derek Lively. You confuse him. You go at him. You test the whistle against the rookie. I think there are a couple. They let him get away with a lot. So I know Mavs fans are like, oh, I saw a couple of comments. Oh, phantom whistle. Like, okay, even if those two were phantom whistles, which they weren't, but let's just say they were, one of the other fouls that didn't get called could easily have been called. So you keep going at him because he's going to foul you. So that's part of the game plan. So keep trying that. Let's see if he can figure it out as a rookie. And then you try everything you can to limit Kyrie Irving. Because as everybody knows, and as they've said Nick Angstead said it on the Locked On Mavs podcast, you can't have a mediocre game from one of those guys. For the Mavs to win, you need great games, elite games from both Luka and from Kyrie. So what makes Luka elite? His passing really makes him elite because the scoring is going to be there. He knows how to score. When he's scoring 30, if he's not generating another 20 to 30 points of offense through his assists, then the Mavs are going to have trouble overall scoring. And when you block off his assists, some of those assists go to Kyrie. He doesn't not pass to Kyrie. Kyrie picks up some of those. And Lively gets some of those. So by making Luka as one-dimensional as possible, that helps the game plan against Kyrie. And so why wouldn't that be, I don't want to say easily replicated, but they can still do it because this game plan didn't rely on any luck. It didn't rely on any misses. We've talked about the big stat that's floating around there. It's 7 total potential assists. One of them was converted into an assist. The other 6 missed. Jayson Tatum had twice as many potential assists. So it's Tatum that could have had more assists because his teammates missed. Luka, if they converted on all his potential assists, and that never happens, he still would have only had 7 at the most, which is, I mean, that's incredible defense. So Dallas's challenge is, how do we find that? So I want to see what Dallas has to do. So when I say same game plan, yeah, let's tee that back up. Jaylen on Luka. Let's see what they try to do to get Tatum off of the bigs and off of Gafford. Let's see what they do to try to involve Porzingis. Let's see if they can try to navigate that a little bit differently. But if I'm the Celtics, I'm saying keep at it. At this point, that game plan works so perfectly. Let's see what they're going to try to do. There's no reason to adjust, but you have those adjustments in your pocket because you've got a great coaching staff. You've got a guy who's interviewed for a bunch of coaching positions in Sam Cassell and a guy who's about to become a head coach. You got some very smart people there. So I say tap into that, see what the adjustments might be, and hold on to them because you don't want to unleash anything until you have to. It's important to note, just because the game plan, I think the game plan is the same, doesn't mean it's going to work as well. I didn't expect the Celtics to be up 29 at one point and 25 in the fourth quarter. That, I think, is where it got a little out of control. That's where Kyrie missing some shots, a couple of things that could have gone differently. I think, to be honest, like Kristaps Porzingis hit some shots that I don't know that he's going to hit in every game. So that 29-point difference, that 25-point fourth quarter difference very easily could have been halved, right? It could be 14 points as the biggest lead and a 7-point lead in the fourth quarter. That's more in line of what I expect. So it might not look the same. The Mavs are going to play with a lot more desperation because they have to win this game. They have to. I'm sorry. I know that there's plenty of room down the line, but to go down 2-0 and have to beat Boston 4 out of 5 times, it just gets exponentially tougher, obviously. So this they have to come back and play better. I expect them to play better. And that level of desperation is going to make them capable of things that Boston, when you're not playing with that level of desperation, just a natural like adrenaline, a natural kind of like boost of whatever chemicals your body needs, that the Mavs are going to have it. And the Celtics, it's going to be tough to match that. So they have to come out and expect a tougher punch right away from the Mavs, and they have to be able to respond. I'm sticking with the same plan until the Mavs prove that this isn't going to work anymore for Boston. And it might happen right away. It might never happen. And that's the beauty of sports. The Celtics could run this game plan 4 straight games, win 4 straight games, boom, done, we're out, celebrate your championship. The Celtics could also very easily win game 1 just like they did, come out in first quarter of game 2, have Dallas figure out 3 of the things that they couldn't do in game 1. Now Boston has to adjust. And that's where the playoffs really get interesting. What does Dallas have in their pocket? Now, the question is, what is it? How can they do something differently? What is it that they can do? Let's talk through it. You and me, let's talk through it after this. Today's show is brought to you by my good friends over at Crack Sauce, CRAIC sauce.com. This stuff is really good. This is the Golden Pumpkin, green 40 Shades of Green Chili, Brian Boru's Curry, and the Mill City Red. Mill City Red is pretty standard kind of hot sauce. You get the thing that you would expect. Some of these others, the curry has a pretty good heat level. That's nice and hot. Mill City Red is medium. The green chili is a little mild. Different levels of heat here in this, but you can tell the flavors, right? There's the curry flavor is very unique. Pumpkin flavor is very unique. And this isn't all they have. They have a ton of other things. Why am I telling you all this? Because it's not just hot sauce. It's not just heat. It's not just burn your tongue. It's flavors. It's things that you can throw into recipes that you already have to add some heat, but also some flavor. It's great stuff. I love it. I've been using it. I put it on a cheeseburger that I made yesterday. Open up the grill for the first time. Use one of these sauces on the cheeseburger. Gives it a nice little kick, but nice flavor to add. So use it however you want. Put it in a Bloody Mary. Have some fun there. That's always I always recommend that. So look, Father's Day is almost here. This is a great gift. Go to cracksauce.com, CRAIC sauce.com. Use the code LOCKEDON. You're going to get 10% off your order. So get some for dad, get some for your husband, get some for your brother, get some for yourself, whichever you want. And then go check them out. Go to cracksauce.com and see where they are. You can go visit them at one of their outings that they're doing all over the place. They're in the Seaport. They're in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. So go check that out. Check out their schedule. Try it. You'll love it. I'm telling you, you're going to love it. If you like any kind of hot sauce, any little bit of heat, this is your place to go. CRAIC sauce.com. All right. What can the Mavs do? Let's talk through these problems. Let's start with the Mavs on offense. All right. What's the biggest problem with the Mavs offense? It's that Luka could not distribute the ball and make the rest of his team better. And not even tangentially, there's adjacent to that is the Kyrie issue. But if you can get Luka spraying the ball and getting potential assists there, Kyrie lives in that space and he will do well. The Celtics did a good job of taking out Lively, and he's a big part of what they were able to do. So you need to figure out a way for Boston to send two to the ball or two to a player. You need to put them in rotation. So how do you put those guys in rotation? I think it's multiple picks. It's more complex actions. Just running a simple pick and roll, that is not going to cut it for the Dallas Mavericks. So my first guess on how Dallas changes things is multiple screeners. Things called, you'll hear the term double drag. Two screeners kind of as the ball is coming up. You just come up, boom, hit a screen. Second one a little bit further down, a little bit further away, boom, a second screen to force multiple decisions. The more decisions that you force, the more likely it is that somebody is going to make a mistake, a miscommunication. Somebody's going to say switch and not hear it. And one guy goes to the ball, the other guy goes to the ball, and they look at each other like, what was that? What were we supposed to do there? I expect a little bit more of like borrowing from the Celtics offense, the horn set. The horn set is something that I talk about a lot. When you have the two screeners, one on either side of the free throw line, and it looks like you can go either direction, and you're just waiting to see where does he go. Inverted screens, flipping the screen, screen them once, turn around to cross back over, right back into a screen. All of these different things that they don't normally do, but are going to have to do in order to get the Celtics to move a little bit on defense. When you watch what the Celtics did especially through the first 3 quarters when they played him mostly straight up. He comes off, turns the corner, and is facing one defender, whoever that is. And all of the help, there's just everybody's staying home. There's nowhere to pass to. Every option is covered. And so you're going one-on-one. And yeah, there might be the occasional dig and a show of like what might be a double team, but then a quick recovery back. So I would expect the Mavs to, first of all, run multiple screens. Second of all, start getting creative with the slipping screens, which means it looks like you're going to set a screen and then boom, you just immediately go to the rim. Try to take advantage of the Celtics maybe staying too close to their guys and just coming up, looking like you're going to set a screen and then boom, straight down the middle of the lane. You got to try to figure out a way to involve Porzingis a lot more and Horford a lot more. They're going to try to attack Jayson Tatum a lot more because Tatum gave up a couple of layups, and I don't think Tatum wants to draw any fouls and leave the game because as Tatum, and maybe I was a little hard on Tatum after that, in my initial assessment of the game. The turnovers were not great, but I think generally speaking, he played pretty great. Got off the ball, made the right plays, and Boston really benefited from that. I don't know that he's going to want to get up into Luka and potentially foul. But it's interesting, Jason Kidd at media availabilities on Saturday made it a point to call Jaylen Brown Boston's best player and saying that Boston's best player has to defend the other best player and trying to play mind games. Al Horford after the game, at the practice was like, oh, I see what Jason Kidd is doing. He's sneaky. Jaylen and Jayson didn't buy into it. They're like, yeah, I got no reaction to that. Everybody knows that Jason Kidd's trying to like play a mind game. And we're talking to some people, shout out to Brett Hampton, talking about like, is Jason Kidd that desperate already that one of his tactics is, hey, let's try the mind games with Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown and see if I can get one of them out of his normal rhythm. I don't think that's going to work, but I don't think that Jayson Tatum is going to want to go and cover Luka on a regular basis. Like that's Jaylen's assignment, and Jason's going to take the big, and they're going to try to avoid doing like a Porzingis drop coverage up on Luka. They're going to try to avoid that as much as possible. The Mavs are going to have to try to figure out a way to involve Porzingis and the big and somebody else and try to make it like a big crowd and then have Luka find somebody in the chaos. That's the best way I can see that offense. And then when that happens, then Kyrie starts to cook because he's going to be living in more space. And that's why I think the Celtics defense has to stay true to its discipline, stay true to the original game plan. You can't get caught up. It's going to happen once or twice. Somebody's going to make a mistake. Somebody might gamble and miss, and then they're in rotation, and Dallas will take advantage of it. But the Celtics cannot react to some made baskets. The Celtics cannot adjust to makes. They have to adjust to the process. And that's a very important distinction. When you're watching the game and Luka is starting to cook, because he will, and he's cooking Jaylen or cooking Holiday, and you're like, oh, man, he's keeping it close. He's keeping it close. It's okay. As long as Boston is still defending the same way. And if he scores 40, fine. If he scores 50, it's okay. Okay? It's okay if he scores 50 with 1 assist or 2 assists. That's okay. All right? As long as Kyrie still struggles, and as long as there are not a ton of assists, as long as that is happening, the rest is happening. Don't worry about some of the makes that were misses in game 1. because the Celtics had a 29-point pad and a 25-point pad. And just know that. Take an extra 20 points out of that. Let's not factor in the third quarter lull, because I don't think the third quarter lull happens if 20 points are pulled out of their total. If it's a 9-point halftime lead, I don't think the third quarter happens. Even if you give 20 more points, boom, here's 20 points from Boston, give those to Luka. You have now 50 points in this game. So the 9-point lead, the 29-point lead is 9, and the 25-point lead is 5. That's okay. That's okay. All right? Because all you got to do is win. Defensively, what do the Mavs do differently defensively? Let's talk about that just a second. The Dallas Mavericks, this is the biggest question. And I know that I focused on the offense first. Everybody's focusing on the offense first because that's Dallas's best chance at making this a game. But their biggest problem is defensively. The Celtics attacked Luka mercilessly. The two questions that I had to start this series so far still remain. Who does Luka Doncic guard? And who does Kyrie Irving guard? They're going to have to either change those matchups, or they're going to have to change how they defend behind Luka. And they're going to have to change how they cover pick and rolls. The Celtics will still attack Doncic. And this is where the defensive plan, as I've said a million times, defending with your offense, this is where the defensive plan starts for Boston. Making Luka Doncic work. And I'll repeat myself. He's either going to defend well and work his butt off, and it's going to cost him later, and we're going to see the Celtics start blitzing him in the fourth quarter and taking the ball out of his hands because he's going to be tired and he's going to be trying to do too much. And or he's not going to defend, and Boston just plays 5-on-4 or 4-on-3. This is going to be the issue for Dallas. And this is where I just don't see the answer. I don't know what they're going to do defensively. They're going to have to try to hide Luka somewhere. Do they put Luka on Al Horford? Then wherever Luka is, they're going to hunt that matchup. They're going to find him. And either he's going to come up and be part of the screen, or they'll do what Boston's done and pre-switch. And what you end up doing there is you just drive to Luka's side and say, well, if he's going to stay there and hide, then he's not going to help. If he's not going to help, or if you go there and you try to draw him in by driving to his side and see if he can help, then you pass it to his guy and let his guy cook, right? So if you have it up top, Tatum on the right side, and Luka is in the right corner defending Derek White, if you're trying to call Luka up and he switches back, he pre-switches onto Derek White, then you just go and flow into Derek White. All you do is you go towards Luka and you run like a dribble handoff and have Derek White come off of that screen. You can just keep attacking Luka Doncic. Keep going. If he's not going to come up to set a screen or to be part of the pick and roll, then you still go at him. You run a dribble handoff. You hit him with a little pick, hand it off to the guy that he's dealing with, and now you're running a little pick and roll. You can do that with Jayson Tatum, right? Picture Jayson Tatum driving to the right against, pick any one of their big defenders, a good defender, let's just say Lively. And okay, you wanted it to be Luka and they pre-switched, no problem. Now picture Tatum dribbling over to the right side, Derek White or Holiday or whomever coming up wherever he was hiding, and you hit him with the dribble handoff, which means Jayson Tatum going down the right side uses the left side of his body to hit Luka Doncic, essentially running a pick and roll, gives it to Derek White, and then Jayson Tatum rolls to the basket. Now there's your 2-on-1. Now Lively's going to be like, oh, now I've got to defend a guy who can hit the floater, or now Jayson Tatum's rolling to the rim. Maybe you throw a lob to Jayson Tatum. Maybe you have options. As long as Doncic is on the floor, you can attack him defensively. That's it. That is the bottom line. It is simple. As long as Kyrie Irving is on the floor, you can attack him defensively. And that's where Dallas has its biggest issue. They will find a way to score. There's no doubt about that in my mind. Luka Doncic is not going to average 1 assist in the NBA Finals. It's not going to happen. That was a great game 1. Game 2 is going to be different on offense. But remember, 110 is my magic number. The Celtics got to 107. And that's garbage time included. So I think 110, they were on target for that 110. Dallas had 89. And garbage time messed that up too. But at one point in the fourth quarter, they had 75. They weren't going to get to 110. 110 is the magic number. How do the Mavs get to 110 and hold Boston below that? Because that number is going to be difficult for them to hit, and it's going to be easy for Boston to get to if they play the full 48 with their starting 5, with their main guys, and we don't factor in 4 minutes of garbage time. So I don't know what Dallas does defensively. How do they stop Boston? It's going to be hope that they miss. And I think Jayson Kidd is a little bit on the desperate side by firing off, like trying to be slick with some of his mind games. It's an acknowledgement to some degree that we need them to help us. We need the Celtics to help us by doing something different, by getting out of their comfort zone. Can we draw the Celtics out of their comfort zone? To a man, they didn't fall for the bait, at least publicly. I think the Celtics, the way they played in game 1, they can do it again for the most part. I think we're going to see Dallas hit shots. It's going to be closer. But I still think the Mavs have trouble defensively. Are they going to stop doubling Tatum? Are they going to pack the paint? What can they do? Are they going to sell out to stop the three-pointers? That's the only thing that I can really think of. That defensively, they say, you know what? We are not going to do what we normally did. And this is going to be very difficult because you can't just change your philosophy. You got a whole season full of habits built. Talked about this with the Miami series. It's hard to change your entire philosophy. So, do they sell out and take away the three-pointers? And if they do, then Boston just drives. And you say, find a way to get Boston into a 2-point game. Try to make it 2-pointers versus 2-pointers. Okay, we acknowledge your defensive prowess, Boston. We acknowledge that you can limit Luka and limit Kyrie. We get it. We understand. We're not built to do that. So what we're going to do is drag you down there with us. And we're going to say you can't win a 2-pointer for 2-pointer old school kind of game because Luka is a god in that area. Kyrie is pretty damn good in that area. And you guys are good, but not as good. And that levels the playing field because one of Boston's strengths is that 3-point shot. So the Celtics have to be aware of that. I think the Mavs, the best way they can do that is to just say, okay, it's kind of like the same Celtics game plan. All right, Tatum, here's Luka Doncic, and there's no help. We're gonna play you exactly the same way you guys play Luka. Go for it. And if they do that, then to me, I am telling Tatum, don't just go for yours. Because remember, it's not Luka versus Tatum. Attack Luka. Get to the rim. If he's going to give up dunks, then go ahead and dunk. What's going to end up happening? The more times you dunk, the more the instinct for the Mavs to protect that rim is going to kick in. They are going to suck in at some point. So you want to go to the rim? Go to the rim. Go all the way to the rim. Challenge them at the rim. If you can't get all the way to the rim, kick it out. Start it over, which means start your offense early in the shot clock, which means play with pace, which means play Celtics basketball. That's it. I hate to be so reductive. I wish there was more nuance to this, but Boston continues to own all the matchups. So whatever the Mavs do to adjust, the Celtics have an answer for it. Just keep attacking. If they want to give up baskets give up shots at the rim, go for it. I guarantee you that the Mavs are going to blink first, because you can't keep dunking on the Mavs and getting to the rim and without their defense being like, no, we have to protect the rim. I'm still going to help. You've got to, that natural muscle memory is going to be like, take that step. And when you see them step, boom, then it goes out to three. Too many opportunities to take those 3-pointers. Set your screens up high. Start early in the shot clock. Run your regular Celtics offense and just be relentless about it. And those shots will still come no matter what Dallas does. Celtics got to hit them and be prepared for the Mavs to hit a few too. It's going to be a closer game too, I think. But this is a must-win. It's a must-win for Dallas, because I feel like Boston can win on the road. If Boston wins game 2, I feel like they're taking one of those 2 games in Dallas, and this thing could be over in 5. If they win game 2, if Boston wins game 2, this could be over in 5, even though I said 6, because I think they can take and will take one of these games on the road. So be prepared, Boston. Be prepared. Keep playing your game. Bonus podcast here. I'm not even going to call them bonus podcasts anymore. I'm just podcasting for like every day. Every day I'm just podcasting through the finals. Basically, I might take one day off here if the Celtics are really rolling. I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. Play it by ear, which we all know that I can do a lot by ear. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thank you for subscribing. If you're new to the show, make sure you're subscribed. Watch the show on YouTube. Get into that comment section and share the podcast. Would love it if you spread the word and told everybody that they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast. It's right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.